Are you worried about being laid off? Or maybe you have been laid off? Episode 157 on Finding Better Podcast, we're going to talk to Kathryn Booker-Veloz about her journey because the fact of the matter is, bad things happen in life, and it's not a matter of whether they happen, it's a matter of how you respond to them. And so she's going to take us through her journey of having lived with the job of her dreams, expecting to have that job for the rest of her life, then waking up one day and finding that that job wasn't there. She's going to take us through setback to comeback. And now she inspires people by telling her story. This too shall pass, and her life is better than ever. She's got a bigger purpose than she had, and it can happen to you too. Here we go. Hello, 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 and welcome back to our Finding Better podcast. My name is John Suzuki, and I am your host. And this is where we share real life wisdom and experiences, life experiences of people who have been there and done that. Because, sometimes the best path to success is to follow in the footsteps of folks who've been there. My guest today is Kathryn Booker-Veloz, and we're going to talk about learning to rise from adversity. And this is a really timely conversation, especially in the world of change that we live in. We're going to talk about specifically being laid off from a job you love. There's so much change happening out there, either be it in the government or in life with artificial intelligence, just changing the world. And people are being laid off all the time, unfortunately. And so this is a conversation talking about what you can do. I mean, what do you do when your professional career is suddenly and unexpectedly and literally upended, right? How do you pivot without losing your values, your dignity, and your sense of identity, right? How do you do that? Because it can be an emotional and tough time when that happens. So Kathryn, I'll welcome you in just a second, but just to let everybody know who you are, she's an executive coach and a leadership strategist. She has advised senior U.S. diplomats and coached over 300 leaders in Washington, D.C. and abroad. And her work is grounded in the reality that leadership isn't about titles. It's about people and it's personal. Now, we're going to talk about Washington, D.C., because that's where she's done a lot of the work. This is not going to be a political conversation. We're going to keep it We're going to talk about politics for sure, but we're not going to get into politics, if you know what I mean. So with that, Kathryn, welcome to Finding Better. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Don. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, you look so young. You must be one of those people that looks 23, but I don't know, has the experience of a 65-year-old.
I guess I can thank my parents for that. They look very young and they're in their 60s, but
Good genes. Good
yes,
genes.
yes. Hair routine, on par, all the things.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, listen, you just left a job that you loved, and you've been through the emotional roller coaster. You've at the same time coached lots and lots of people. So all of a sudden, you are in a space where it's happening to you. Tell us about it,
Yeah, so this year has come with so many twists and turns. So
especially in Washington, D.C.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't want to get too into politics, but just to give folks the just basic facts of what happened, if that's okay. I'll take everybody back to January 22nd, 2025, at 2 o'clock in the morning, whenever I found out that I would be put on admin leave, um, along with a group of folks in my agency, in my prominent federal agency that I worked in. And so, fast forward, I ended up texting my supervisor, who was a senior U.S. diplomat at the time, and asked her, "Is this information correct? I'm seeing it all over the news." Because we didn't get an official notice through our agency, but it was plastered all over the, media, if you will.
Wow.
And so fast forward about 6:45 in the morning, I messaged my supervisor and I said, what should I do? Should I come into work? Can I stay home and hide, if you will? It was just so overwhelming and shocking that I kind of was just spiraling, if you will. And
Sure.
so I ended up calling. So after I talked to my supervisor, I got confirmation that, she wanted me to still come into the office that day. I was greeted by so many of my colleagues who, because I was a senior advisor, so just to preface it for folks listening, I was a senior advisor. I was the youngest member of my C-suite leadership team, advising political appointees, foreign service officers, amongst many other, civil servants in my job. And so, my role was to, build up the culture, to ensure that there's psychological safety, that we're leaning into emotionally intelligent behavior.
Yikes.
Yes,
Okay.
fostering that cohesion and connection. But what happens when you look up and you're the one that's almost in the fire, if you will, and you're kind of blindsided by all of this information that's coming at you so quickly. So, what ended up happening that day is, I had at least two sets of people who were lined up outside of my office just to thank me for my service and for everything that I had done throughout my time at USAID and how I had made an impact on their lives. And it was just this overwhelming sense of camaraderie, of just human connection. Like, I see you, I hear you, and I stand with you in solidarity, right? And it didn't matter if folks were Democrat, Republican, Independent. It was the fact that we were all humans experiencing this shakeup together that many who have been in the federal government have said have they've never seen in their 40-year career. And so as we navigated that day, I finally got a notice from my agency that it was indeed true. And about 3 o'clock that afternoon, we had letters that were sent to us telling us to please take all of our belongings, head home, and we would be put on admin leave. The silver lining is that we were still getting paid because folks didn't really realize that there's a lot of protections around civil, federal employees. Um,
Hmm.
and so I was still able to get paid, get those paychecks as they slowly, moved us off the books a couple of months later.
So this is your situation that you experienced is a little bit unique in the sense that you and your entire organization, I mean, wholesale, were let go or put on administrative leave all at the same time, right? And so, as hard as that is, I contrast that with folks who go through that experience, and usually it's an uh, individual thing, and a lot of people, feel alone and they feel betrayed and they feel, and I'm sure you guys felt that too,
Yeah.
right? But having had other people going through it, you mentioned that the word that came out at me was camaraderie,
Mhm.
right? Where you were together in this. Not that it makes it any better, but did that help? I mean, if you were to think about it from the standpoint of you being individually selected to leave, um, was there safe in having company, if you will, or safety, or do you think that I don't know, because I just think about individual situations.
Yeah, yeah. And
Doesn't
just
make it any easier, I'm sure, but
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, so I will say that how it rolled out in early mid-January, late January, is my group was the first one to be put on admin leave, but the rest of my agency wasn't quite sure what was happening yet. There were rumors that other folks may be put on admin
Oh
leave,
my gosh. Yeah.
but it was my group who worked in the inclusion belonging space, those advisors who were put on admin leave first. And then a week later, it was a whole other set of people. Then it was announced, I think 2 weeks after, that the entire agency would be essentially shutting down or merging with another federal agency.
So
Yeah.
this it must have been a huge shock, right? I mean, because I mean, literally it happened not overnight. It happened in an instant, right?
Yes.
One moment you're you're rolling along and doing what you do, and the next moment you're watching TV and you're going, "Wait, what? What?" Right? I mean that is truly right up there with the worst case scenario. Because I've been in the private sector for all my career. I just retired 3 years ago, and I've been involved with layoffs, on the giving end of layoffs, if you will. And
Mhm.
you always want to treat your people with respect. You always want to keep their dignity. And one of the things that I found is that as time has gone on, I've coined a phrase: "We've gotten so smart, we've forgotten our heart."
Mm.
And but even I can't think of a time when something just happened overnight. I mean, just in an instant and said, okay, you know, according to the news, I'm gone, right? I mean, where's the
Exactly.
dignity in that, right? And so that must have heightened the shock, I
Totally.
would
It was
imagine.
definitely a gut punch, especially since we're serving our country, our nation. And, we work in the federal government in an agency that was created by both sides of Congress. Well, it didn't matter if you were Republican or Democrat, they came together to create this federal agency. And so to just see it dismantled so quickly and to see chainsaws swinging in the air in the media, and kind of this caricature, if you will, that was being drawn up of federal employees, right? And not saying that there are, ways that we can definitely create more efficiency and, better, kind of enhance different things in our government for sure. But I think the way it was done, to your point about dignity, respect, honoring the service of these Americans who have really dedicated their whole lives to the mission of what we stand for, diplomacy, ensuring there's national security that is protected. It just kind of seemed to go all out the window, and it just felt like a hurricane, if you will, or a
Yeah.
tornado that was happening. And it's like, how do I process this? How did I get swept up? When is this going to end? And so having that sense of connection, I think, was really, really, really critical, even though there was so much uncertainty, John.
So what happened? How did you move forward?
So I will say what I did to move forward, just to start, I actually just took time to rest. Um, I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. I love Jesus. Um, my best friend, my Lord and Savior. And so just to say that unashamed, I think if I literally did not have him, I would have spiraled. I would have crashed out, as we say in my millennial generation. It was the fact that, and it was actually so countercultural because while this was all happening with the agency being dismantled before our eyes, I remember just being in prayer and I sensed the Lord tell me, rest. Which I'm like, wait, rest? I need to be looking for a job. I need to be, looking at job sites and applying for 500 different, positions that are out there. What do you mean rest? And it was in that rest, when I finally took him up on his word, that I felt this overwhelming sense of peace that surpassed all understanding. And it actually gave me greater clarity about what my next steps needed to be, as opposed to jumping into this rat race, if you will, of trying to find the next opportunity.
That is amazing because that is kind of counterintuitive, right? Especially in your world where there were hundreds, if not thousands, of people being let go at the same time, and all of a sudden the job market is being inundated with all of these people, and the message you got was rest. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're like, oh my God, I gotta get out there, and you're putting on your Sunday best, and and the message comes back, chill,
Mhm.
just chill. right? And what a wonderful thing. And so, I guess, I think about this for those of you who are not believers, which is totally, totally fine. I happen to be one too, but that's okay. And you know, take time for yourself. Take time for yourself. Okay, so here's the truth about life. Shit happens, right? Life's not fair. Write those two things down. Okay? When life's not fair and stuff happens, right? Pause. Give yourself grace,
Yes.
right? I mean, that's really a big part of it is giving yourself grace.
Mm.
So then what happened?
So, in the process of quieting my mind,
Mhm.
um, it became more clear and distinct about what I was to do next. And that was really leaning into launching my own business. And so, the first entrepreneur in my family, just to say, so it's a lot of firsts. And at first, I was like, no, is that really what but it was like all doors were leading to that. Like with
Uh-huh.
all of the unique experience that I've garnered throughout my life, right? From, serving in the US Peace Corps, in the Dominican Republic for 2.5 years to, traveling to over, 20 plus countries by the age of 30, working in the US government for, over 5 years and really reaching a very high level in the government where I was working with even ambassadors, in some instances. It was like was able to acquire all of that unique experience, which I look back now and say, my goodness, that was so intentional. To now wrap up those unique experiences into a business that has the power to serve other people, right? It's about uh, being that light, taking my, lessons learned, the wisdom I've gained, and really packaging that into a coaching and consulting, training development type of business. And so, established it as an LLC. We are out here, taking the steps forward, daring greatly, as Dr. Brene Brown talks about, which I love her so much in her work. And really just stepping out and seeing what's in the realm of the possible, which is a lot.
That is amazing. That I mean, you know, I often say that in the world that we live in today, um, more shit's going to happen faster than it's ever happened.
Mhm.
And, you know, and, life is going to be as unfair as it's ever been as we
Yeah.
move forward. And I believe that from the standpoint, having been in technology for 40 years, that what we're seeing with the rise of artificial intelligence, there's three kinds of people: those who make things happen, those who watch things happen, and those who wake up in the morning and say what happened. And with this world of AI, more and more of that is happening, and more of it is going to happen. And so, as I listen to you, and I like to paraphrase things for my audience, and myself, right? Um, when that shit hits a fan, the proverbial shit hits the fan, give yourself grace, ask the universe, pray, right? For those of you who aren't prayers, ask the universe for guidance. Somehow questions get answered as if you listen. You have to listen. And then know, for those of you who are affected by stuff like this, we live in a world where there's more opportunities than there have ever been in the history of mankind.
Yes.
You just have to be able to open your eyes and look around. Keep asking the questions. Kathryn, I tell people all the time, they go, John, they ask me, what should I do? What should I do? And I give them an answer that I don't know anybody else gives. And that is, build your muscle of being scrappy.
Mhm.
Build that scrappiness, right? The traditional answers in the traditional world, or the world that we know of, is going away, and it's going away really, really fast. But at the same time, new opportunities are being created faster than we've ever seen opportunities be created before.
Mhm.
And Warren Buffett famously said the greatest investment you can ever make is an investment in yourself,
Mhm.
right? And I feel like that's what you did. You gave yourself grace, you prayed, you listened, and you decided to start your own business using the skills, the experience that you've gained, the skills that you have, the superpower that you were born with,
Mhm.
and serving others. Does that about sum it up?
I would say absolutely. Um, it's a matter of just really believing in yourself too. I mean, that's really what it's about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it really is. It really is. I just um I just watched this is gonna sound crazy, but I just watched a movie 2 nights ago. It's called She's Out of Your League. Have you seen that movie?
Yes.
I
Uh,
love that movie. It is such a goofball movie. It's a young person's movie. It's not a kind of movie that 64-year-olds typically watch. But I watched this movie, and one of the things about the movie that I thought was really, really poignant is that the story is about this woman who's a 10 and this guy who considers himself a 5, right? And going through the whole and she wants to date him, he wants to date her, but she's a 10 and he's a 5. And it was amazing how the story was about him sabotaging himself because he considered himself a 5,
Mhm.
right? How could I ever date someone like this? And she's out of my league. And I'm not going to tell, well, you can go see this. Okay, I'm going to tell you. Um, but the whole idea was he reconciled all of it when he realized that no matter how much of a goofball that he thought he was, no matter what he thought of his self-image, he was a 10. He
Hmm.
was a 10. And every single one of us, somehow, some way, in some way that God or whoever has bequeathed in us, we're 10s. We're 10s. And so once he got that self-esteem and realized, hey, you know what? I'm as good as anybody for her. It just changed his life. And so he just created that belief in himself that you were talking about, right?
Yeah.
And it's so important because we all have superpowers that we were born with. And every one of us is better at something than
Mhm.
just about anybody in the world,
Yeah.
right? And but at the same time, we're just hammered. We're hammered all the time with what I call messaging of inadequacy. That through social media, through advertising, if you don't live a life like mine that I'm presenting to you on, look how beautiful I am, you suck, right? And most of it's bullshit,
Mhm.
right? And yet, but at the same time, when we're being hammered at constantly, so how did you get to that point of, I mean, making a decision to become an entrepreneur, let alone a consultant and a coach? That's big time, right? And I can tell you that because I've been there and done it. I mean, it's really, really hard because it's a great. Tell me I'm wrong or tell me where I'm off with this. You start off with this idea and you go, oh man, maybe I can be an executive coach. Maybe I can be a leadership strategist. And you start going down this road, and then all of a sudden, this little voice on the side on your right shoulder goes, who do you think you are? Are you serious? When I wrote that book, I went through the exact same,
Mhm.
who's going to listen to me? And so it really does take belief. It really does take some courage. And it takes an acknowledgement that, you know what, I'm going to screw up, but I'm going to learn as I go and become better. How
Absolutely.
did how does that align with how you what you went through?
I think for me personally, John, I feel like I've kind of been underestimated throughout my life, my entire life. It,
Okay.
yeah, whether it's, oh, you look so young. I mean, I
Yeah,
can't
I'm
believe
sorry,
it.
but I know better. I know better. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe when I'm 50 or 60, I'll definitely appreciate it. But now, as a 30-something-year-old, it's like these are the cards I was dealt, and I'm not gonna shy away from that. This is how I am. This is how I was created to be. So there you have it. But I think being underestimated throughout my life has made me has kind of lit this fire within me to just prove not just people wrong, but just prove myself wrong that I am not the words that they say that I am. I am much bigger than the little box that they try to fit me into. And I think we as human beings, right, we have our cognitive biases, right? I used to teach on bias in my agency. And so, we have these biases in our minds and how we perceive people and things and all of that. And I really have just made it a point and decision to say, you can't box me in. I am so much bigger. I am created for so much more. Watch. And every time and time again, and not to say that in a way of pride or ego, but more so just believing that all of the gifts, the talents that I was born in this world to create and to do, um, they're gonna come to fruition if I just stay the course. If I continue to just let that fire burn within me and grow brighter and brighter. Of course, treating people with dignity and respect, because those values are super important to me. My grandmother, who used to clean uh, houses back in the 1950s, she used to have to go into the back door of those homes in Oklahoma City because they wouldn't let her through the front door. She eventually, rose to a very high position and all of that. But I never forgot my grandmother's teachings of you treat the person who's the janitor with just as much respect as you treat that CEO. Do not show any difference in how you talk to them and how you treat them. They are both equally important and they both have a unique role to play in our society and just our lives in general. And so, just going back, I think those types of nuggets of wisdom, letting that fire burn, proving myself wrong, and in turn, right, proving others wrong, has really been the driving force in me continuing to just push forward that tenacity, that perseverance. And also the gremlins, is what I've also heard it, described as flicking the top of my shoulder and saying, no, you don't have any time today, no room. And then practically for those listening, like I would encourage folks like write down like whenever especially as you're stepping into something big or if you're in it now, write down every negative thought or voice that you hear constantly pop up in your mind. Like write it down on paper. And then in another column, counter it with what you know is true. Write down either whether it's affirmations, because those are scientifically proved to really make a difference, or whether it's scriptures for those who are believers. Write down, you're fearfully and wonderfully made. Like you were knit together in your mother's womb for such a time as this, that you were abundant, that you are more than a conqueror. Like you have to counter it because if not, all of those thoughts would almost begin to suffocate you. And to me, how I am and how I grew up, especially with two older brothers who tortured me, just as brothers do, um, they really gave me they really taught me a lot about how to navigate life. They gave me a toughness about me. And so I think that also has been a big factor in saying, no, I'm not going to listen to that. I'm not going to bow down to it. I have places to be, things to do, and another assignment to help make this world a little bit brighter than the day I entered it.
You said an awful lot to unwind just now,
Yes.
right? I mean, the first part, and I got three things that I just kind of wrote down is it's not about proving yourself to others, it's about proving yourself to you, right? because we all of us at some point in time, if not always, do allow the expectations of others define us, right? Define who we are. And they have no business defining who we are. That's our job. Don't let anybody commandeer that or Shanghai that, right? And understanding that, just understanding that one piece of you be you.
Mhm.
Don't be what other people want from you, or don't be the person other people expect you to be. Because you know what? Most of the people out there want you to be something less than you are
To make them feel comfortable
to
about
make
themselves.
them feel better,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the other thing that you talked about was perseverance and going for it. How how do you coach folks to build that muscle? Because it is something that you grew up with it. You grew up in life or death with your brothers, right? But not everybody have been blessed with that suffering. How's that? Right? So how do you coach folks how to build that muscle? Because it is a muscle.
Mhm.
And it's persevering. Don't not giving up, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the things that I have definitely tried to do, even, throughout my career, and especially as I coach people too, is to just simplify it. And, many of us are adults now with these shiny titles, or we're aspiring for the shiny title, if you will. But behind all of that, we're almost so much of our childhood and our upbringing shapes how we see and perceive the world today. And so in my coaching of, folks, whether it's diplomats or CEO, what have you, or just regular workers, managers, whomever, it's really just having that ability to go back to those early stages of development that really made the most impact on how your ideas about yourself, whether it's, may sound elementary, but it truly is critical to think about, okay, when did I start to adopt this way of thinking that's actually not serving me or my family or my career or the teams that I lead? Where did this thought first develop and why? And I think having that ability to get to that point, and then we work our way from there. But it's not like we can't fix the symptoms. We have to go to the actual root, not treat the leaves on the tree, but go to the root of what it is that spark those thoughts that are maybe self-sabotaging or, so negative, beating up your confidence, your self-esteem, your sense of worth. And just to say, John, I mean, one of the things, and I just feel so blessed to have experienced this, is I did get to reach some of the highest levels of my career at a very young age. It was in my late 20s. And, seeing that the folks behind the title of whether it was ambassador or, senior director, whomever, were just people.
Yeah.
And we have fears and
Yep.
insecurities, and those came from somewhere. And so that's also a really huge part of my coaching methodology is just getting folks to kind of get back to those beginning stages, if you will, and begin to unpack and then begin to kind of pour into that bucket to build back stronger.
That is amazing. I had an episode last week that I did with a gentleman, and we were talking about uh, life and um, purpose.
Mhm.
And he says, "Okay, John, can I do something with you?" I said, "Sure." So, and this is all on the episode. It's kind of risky to agree to being a test subject, right? But he says, "Think back as far as you can remember, as far as you can remember." And what was uh, the best experience you can remember, as far back as you can remember. And I told him, I said, buying ice cream for all my friends
Mhm.
and working hard so that I could do so. I could earn money to buy ice cream for my friends. And he says, how old were you when you did that? I said, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 years old. And he says, well, he told me, he says, I've never had anybody say that, right? Everybody likes to like to play and stuff. And he says, so what are you doing today? And I said, I'm working hard and I've worked hard so I can buy stuff for the people I love. and and it was interesting because he gave me an alignment. And this goes back to what you were saying because there's a lot of folks, I'm sure, that I would talk to who would go back to their longest way back as far as they can remember, and they're doing something different, right? And so that's where he comes in. He goes, "Well, let's talk about that." And what you just said was think about where these thoughts came from and think back as far as you can think. And I was thinking about what you said about write down when a negative thought comes to your mind, write it down, write down in the next column why it's wrong, or write the counter to it. And I just thought to myself, a third column could be, where the hell did that come from?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And look at it. And the beauty of that exercise, even just doing that first column of writing down the negative thoughts, is when you write things down, you can look at it.
Mhm.
You can look at it, right? And you
Exactly.
can examine it and you can go, well, that's bullshit, right? But if you don't write it down, it's just bouncing around in your head,
Yes.
right? And it's just doing stuff inside there that it has no business doing and kind of, in some cases, sabotaging you, right?
Mhm. And coming at you at all hours of the night, morning, evening, absolutely.
Yeah. So when you write it down, you could say, okay, I got you right here. I'm going to put you on top of my nightstand. Uh, you have no business being in here anymore because I just stuck you on that piece of paper,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
And does it work?
It does. It's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is powerful. That is amazing. And how are you doing today? Because, January wasn't that long ago. It was just 6 months ago,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so you've gone through 6 months of the whole process of, I guess they call it the grieving process or whatever. So what does life look like to you now?
I'm excited about this question. And just pause.
Okay.
It looks like a field of opportunities and possibilities. Um, it looks like there's no stopping me now. It looks like, I just entered into a brand new decade, right? I'm 30. And
Woohoo!
us younger millennials are like having this, oh, I'm 30, but it's like, y'all, we're still grooving and young and all the things. Um,
Oh
but
my
even
God, I'm halfway dead.
but even if folks find themselves in an older stage of life, right? It's as long as you're breathing and you have air in your lungs, there are opportunities out there. There are possibilities. And it's just a matter of saying, why not take a chance and do something that's out of the ordinary, or maybe that hasn't been done in my family before. Um, and also attacking the voice of fear, because fear can really talk to you and tell you all the reasons why not to do something. And that fear is essentially the root of anxiety, right? And so I think for me at this moment, I just see like an open field, an open green lush field, just to give folks the image of just
That is so
opportunity.
cool. Good for
Yeah,
you.
possibilities and just excited to see what's next, right? Potentially tapping into government contracting, right? Moving into, of course, this business full time and seeing what's out there. So I really, really feel reinvigorated and rejuvenated. And I grieved what was, and that was okay. We heard from presidents even on our last day, from, President Bush, President Obama, and others, even Bono, to just say thank you for your service. And now it is time to just step into the next.
That is wonderful. You know, as you look back now, how do you feel about the experience that you had? Are you feeling bitter? Are you feeling grateful? How are you feeling as you look back now on uh, on what was taken away from you?
Yeah. I feel very grateful. And I feel like they were growing pains. So I feel like what I just went through, it had to happen in order to usher me into the next phase of my life and the next stage of my purpose, if you will. Of course, I took all of those experiences, the wisdom, the going to Thailand, talking to folks in Thailand and India and Indonesia, Philippines, etc., all over the world, taking all of that unique experience that I was blessed to have obtained and saying, okay, let's package that into the suitcase and bring it on to the next. How can I use those moments to be of service for these next set of folks that I'm meant to interact with and, you know, connect with in the future? So it's definitely a sense of gratitude. It's definitely a sense of just feeling blessed, honestly, John.
You know, this is you're amazing. You're wonderful. And this is a message a lot of people need to hear. Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Somehow everything's going to be okay. The process, I get it. The process can suck, but I mean, everything's going to be okay, especially if, you give yourself grace. What we talked about earlier, you give yourself grace and you pray or you ask the universe the questions that you want to have answered. Ask ChatGPT. But whatever you do, listen to what's being brought back to you. And in the case of Kathryn, so many others, it's so cool the kinds of opportunities that can present themselves to you, right? When you open your eyes and you open your mind, and and you bring yourself internally, because again, happiness is not out there. Happiness is right here, right? It's in you. It's not a search of going out there. Nobody can make you happy. We think they can, but it's all inside here, right? And when you just bring those basics back, yeah, it can be wonderful. And Kathryn, you experienced that,
Yes.
right? But it did take grace for yourself, and it did take introspection. But you found it in you. You didn't find it out there, right?
Exactly. Took getting quiet for myself in
Yeah,
a world that is extremely loud. And that quietness is actually a really powerful space to be in.
totally. That's why prayer and meditation are so important. You
Yeah.
know, I created an acronym out of the word fear.
Mhm.
And for me, it's fake expectations affecting reality,
Mhm.
right? It's fake expectations. 99% of the time, what we're fearful of never happens. But the fact of the matter is we have it in our code. We are coded to be fearful for things that no longer, just as people, as in surviving beings. But most of us don't have to be worried about being chased by a bear and eaten. by it, right? And yet we still have that inside of us as um, innate. Um, so we have to. So we are also blessed, however, with the ability to think it through.
Mhm.
And so just remember when you're facing the fear, is it really real?
Mhm.
Is it going to kill? Is it going to eat you? Right? And that's why I say fake expectations that really do affect our reality as we
Mhm.
move forward. Kathryn, how can people reach you if they want to talk with you or learn more about you?
Yeah, so I have my website, kathrynexecutive.com. And so folks can reach out to me there. I don't know, will those be in the show notes or?
It will be in it is in the show notes. So, and Kathryn is spelled Kathryn.
Yes.
Okay. So say your URL again.
Uh-huh. So Kathryn, Kathryn, the word executive.com. And so on my website, I have a spot where folks can kind of register and sign up to have a conversation with me. So I'm actually currently offering a hour-long coaching call around a real issue and problem set that you're dealing with. And so
Wow.
feel free to sign up if you're interested and you're like, this is really nagging me, or leading is lonely. I need some other perspectives and insight from different voices. And so I'm absolutely happy to talk to folks and really be of service.
That's wonderful. Folks, Kathryn has given you an opportunity to have basically a 1 hour mentorship session with her. And I'll tell you something. If you get one great idea out of that conversation, could change your life. Could change your life. Kathryn, any last words?
I just want to tell people to hang in there. There's a lot of crazy mess happening. And I just want to encourage people that you are here for a reason and for such a time as this. And don't ever lose hope. We need you. We need your perspective. We need your voice. We need your light. And so I just want to encourage people to hang on despite the adversity and challenges that we're all facing right now. It'll eventually get better, eventually.
I couldn't have said it better. I couldn't have said it better. We're all here for a reason, folks. And it's the beauty that you have inside of you and the superpower that you've been blessed with. And if you don't know what the superpower is, go ask people what it is.
Mhm.
Go ask people, hey, what do you think my superpower is? Because a lot of times other people see things that we don't,
Yes.
and in ourselves,
Mhm.
right? So with that, Kathryn, thank you for joining us. I love you. God bless you. Um, all the best on your journey moving forward. And all of you out there, I love you. God bless you. Please share this because in the world that we live in, as fast as it's changing, stuff happens. Okay. And everything's going to be okay. All right. So, with that, thanks again for joining us. Share this, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Kathryn.